Hello, Kim.
Hey, Roy. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And hey, everyone watching on Facebook Live and
Yay.
hopefully listening to the podcast. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but
That's right.
it's
Welcome.
January 5th,
Uh-huh.
2021.
Actually, it's January 6th.
Is it January 6th?
It is
Yeah,
January
you're
6th.
right. That's what I get for making notes early. Happy January 6th, everyone.
6th, yeah. I'm Kim Colapretti,
And I'm Roy Powell.
and we're with Team Diva at Cole Banker Bain
That's right.
in Seattle, Washington, in case you don't already know. Yeah, we're so excited. I'm so excited to be back, Roy. Aren't you?
It feels like it's been a lot longer than what, a month and a half,
No,
I
2
guess.
months almost.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's why it feels
2
long.
months. 2 months. We were going to do a post-election broadcast and we were just exhausted,
right.
and there was nothing really to report because we didn't even know what happened until like 5 days after the election.
That's true. Yeah, there wasn't really much to say then. So yeah, but
No.
yeah, took a quiet holiday. A little bit different than years past, but that's good.
True. That's true. But we're back, and so we're going to be doing things a little bit differently this year. So we avoid a little bit of burnout. Roy and I are going to do this 3 weeks out of the month,
right,
and take a break every end of the month. So every third, fourth week we'll be taking a break. I should say every fourth week.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna still be having a bunch of cool guests on the show. Maybe not every week. I think the first week of the month it's going to be Roy and I.
Yeah.
Talking real estate and politics, of course, because we can't avoid it. And then we're going to have some diva dwellers and community folks on the show.
Yeah, it should be really cool. I'm excited. Another thing I mentioned it slightly before is we've also, if you can't watch this live with us, keep the conversation going afterwards. Because, what we realize is a lot of people actually don't watch this live, which is great. Watch it when you have time.
Yeah.
And then make sure you're commenting and letting us know your thoughts and opinions, because we like to keep the conversation rolling. And then we also, we set up a podcast. So in the middle of last year, we actually started pushing these episodes to podcast as well. And we're going to continue doing that. So if you don't want to be on Facebook and you want to listen to this on your headphones or on a long drive, if you're into listening to Kim and I while you drive, and all of our guests, check out the podcast too. And we'll make sure and put a link to it in the show here, and then
in the show notes, right? Yeah, and there's always a blog. We have a blog that's associated with the podcast now. So if there's information we talk about, we can update that information. Today, we're going to do a little bit of a conversation about real estate stats and what happened in 2020, looking back and a little looking forward. And we're not going to go deep into numbers, but we're going to put more of those numbers in the blog.
Totally. Yeah.
So you can check that out. And of course, it's impossible to start a show today talking about real estate without first talking about what the F is happening in our nation's capital right now, Roy. It is like,
I have, I'm sitting here with the New York Times open on a window in the background.
Oh my God, it's chaos. So we should probably, I know, of course, it's the first of the year and we're broadcasting and Roy is frozen. Oh, hey, Dave. I'm going to take a few seconds to say, hi, Dave. Thanks for tuning in, our super fan, Dave. Hopefully Roy will pop back in and we can get this conversation going. But we are going to talk about real estate stats. And then we're going to talk about what's happening in Georgia and what's happening in our nation's capital. And hopefully I'll get Roy back on and it won't just be me chatting here by myself. But let's start and we'll see if we can get Roy popping back on. Oh, hi, Sarah. Happy New Year to you too. Glad folks are hopping on. So while I wait for Roy to come back in, let's talk a little bit about 2020 and how that year went. We started out the year pretty strongly. And then, as y'all know, we have a global pandemic that hit that really changed the course of the market, but only temporarily. So once the pandemic hit and we went into lockdown, we saw a shift in the real estate market with a lot of things just coming to a screeching halt, things diving down numbers wise. And then it took about a month for it to revive. And once it started to revive, it was a straight shot up for the rest of the year. And we actually wound up having a pretty incredible real estate year last year. The numbers were super strong. Inventory was a little up from 2018, but still down from 2019. And we just had like crazy multiple offers and it plateaued and stayed strong through most of the year last year. And we wound up with some very good increase in real estate prices. Good for sellers, maybe not so great for buyers. The one positive thing for buyers, of course, is the interest rates are still super low, hovering at 3 or below 3%, if I'm not mistaken. I know when the last deal that I did, we were able to close at like 2.875. So that's a pretty great deal for real estate. And hoping we're going to get Roy back in here. Hi, Stephen. Yay, Stephen's back. Another super fan. So excited that you're all here. I'm just going to keep talking. Oh, Roy.
I don't know what happened there. I saw you and then you went away and I thought it was, anyway.
So I've just been like rolling along talking about real estate stats.
I was too.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Which one of us was online? I don't know. But
I think you were and I wasn't. I apologize for that.
It wouldn't be a Roy and Kim show if we didn't start out with like a weird BeLive glitch in the very first episode.
It's kind of hard for our wild day that's going on out.
Oh my God. Well, as Stephanie Galing, our astrologer, said, it is the last day of Mars in Aries. So it's bound to be like fiery and crazy and go out with a bang. So here we are. So I was just talking about the overall market and how, pandemic hit, the market came to a screeching halt. And when it started to go back up again, it like soared.
Yeah, it really did.
It really did. So we've got some stats. For the luxury market, the average is now hovering around 1.55. At least at the end of year, that was the average. And we're looking at like a 22-day market, which for luxury, that's super good. I mean, that's almost a 60% difference from the beginning of the year to the end of the year.
Fast, right?
Yeah, I mean, super fast. Like the luxury market is usually like a 50-day market, right? 40 something to 50. So 22 days is pretty solid for that high, 1.5 plus 1 million to 1.5 plus market.
And thinking about averages, just to keep in mind, like for all those houses that go 200 days on market, you've got houses going 1, 2, 3 days on market to pull that into 22. I mean, that's pretty astounding.
That is pretty astounding, right? And that is probably one of the fastest luxury markets we've seen in a few years.
Yeah.
Or like the quickest moving market. Single family homes. Looks like the average is like at 910.
Yeah, which is kind of wild. So this was an interesting one to kind of figure out because that's also taking into account, the things that are selling over $1 million. And what's interesting is like when we see stats from other sources, they're probably going to skew closer to 800. Just because they're taking out some of those, $5 and $10 million sales. But what's really interesting about that is looking at just Seattle with the average price being 910. That's really making it tough for a lot of buyers to buy right now.
It is, right. And then when you look at the stats, so we also ran stats for like first-time homebuyer homes, which are basically 2-bedroom, 1-bath properties.
Right.
And those stats are crazy. I mean, 600,000, that's an entry-level home in this city, pretty much a move-in ready entry-level home. Now, obviously, you can find a few homes under 600,000, smaller homes that maybe need a little bit of work. We just closed on a home for one of our buyers earlier late last month that was, in the 500s, but still Man, it is. These averages make it tougher and tougher.
Yeah, in the city of Seattle, it's getting really tough to find things under $500,000.
Right.
And the other interesting stat to go along with that is the days on market on that is 7.3.
I know. Wow.
So that's, where we always talk about, in a fast market, we're seeing homes, come on the market on Tuesday, looking at offers on Monday. This stat is actually showing closer to homes come on the market on Friday and look at offers on Monday.
Right.
So that's a really interesting thing to keep, to know as a buyer.
Right.
Of what 2020 looked like going into 2021.
Yeah.
The stats on townhouses, they're skewing a little bit higher. A lot of that has to do because there are more new construction townhouses that are making those prices go up a little bit more. And being in dense neighborhoods, there's more of a fight to get into those. But that's looking at just over 700,000 with a days on market of 12.3.
Yeah, and I know we didn't put them. I don't see, we didn't, in these notes, we didn't put down the increase, but I think when I ran the numbers, it looked like we had probably about a 9.5 or 10% increase in prices overall in the past year. Roy, you keep leaving me. I'm going to take this personally at some point. So we had a pretty strong increase in prices last year, which is once again kind of crazy because we were in the middle of a global pandemic. But I think it's indicative of the fact that, one, when there's not much to do, people are online looking at property and deciding that, hey, if I'm going to be at home and working from home and not really going out as much. Hey, Roy, you're back.
I don't know what's going on. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah. So I was just talking about like the increase in the prices is probably related to the fact that we feel like because there was a global pandemic that somehow would stymie the market, but instead it's made more and more people feel like I need more space and I need to move.
It really has, coupled with like historically low interest rates.
That's right. I was going to say historically low interest rates, which I mentioned earlier when you were absent the last time.
Sorry.
When you abandoned me the last time.
Let me just repeat everything you've already said.
Just in case you missed it, let's say that again.
Well, I clearly missed it.
So you also ran some condo stats, and I'm curious because you can see like the average, where the average price point is like 570. Mm-hmm. Do we get an idea of where that market was up or down from?
Not specifically, but I actually was running a market analysis on a potential condo listing, which was really interesting. So it was, I can say this because I haven't even talked to the client about it yet, but it was in a building that we sold. We actually sold this condo. We were representing the seller. So the buyer got back in touch with me. They bought it in 2018, and the price for this specific condo building has actually leveled off. Like it's almost exactly the same as it was 2.5 years ago.
Crazy.
To even being slightly lower.
Oh, wow.
And part of that has to do with the amount of competition in the housing market. Like, for example, the days on market for condos is an average of 18, which is double, almost triple the single family home market.
Right.
And so that's kind of telling in itself. But what that's saying is that, people aren't looking at condos in the same way that they're looking at single family homes, and even moving a little bit further out to get a single family home over buying a condo right downtown.
Right.
And, I don't really believe it's because people are moving out of the city.
No,
I think part of it might be, the idea of communal living is maybe a little spooky during a pandemic, or like living in a building where everybody's touching everything and elevators and whatnot. But a lot of that too, I think, has to do with new construction stuff, sitting in the market, being available for a long time before it actually sells, is skewing that number. And like the abundance of choice, like if you're looking at buying a condo right now, you have the option of so many different things. Like,
I think that's because the demand for space, like what's moving the market is so interesting because I've been in this business for 20 years and the way events influence the market I'm not going to say the pandemic's not economic driven, but it's not at its core economic. The influence isn't at its core an economic influence, but the state of the pandemic has really caused us to reevaluate. And we've said this before, how we live, where we live, how we work, where we work, what's important to us, beyond just, can I walk to a pizza place or a bar, right? And when you take away that, that overlay, it seems to me that a lot of people are like, I need more space, right?
Totally.
I'm not going to an office every single day to work, and I'm going to be working more from home. Then the space I have at home is more important, which I think has driven a lot of people to, leave their condos and go, buy something bigger.
You touched on the other thing that I wanted to say too, which is, a big part of when we market a home, we're talking about the neighborhood and its walkability a lot of times. And it's the ability to go grab a cup of coffee or grab a slice of pizza, and everything is being delivered now, and I think people are understanding that, if I can have the same conveniences delivered to me and I'm not going out and enjoying those places, directly, then I maybe don't need to live right next to them for now.
Right. Yeah. So what does this mean for 20?
In my opinion, if you have a house to sell and you're thinking about selling it, let's get it on the market.
I agree.
There is an extreme demand for houses right now. I know you were telling me last night, you've talked to 6 buyers in the last couple of days. And I have
2 more today. And so maybe 8 buyers in the last 3 days.
And I have 5 that have rolled over from December, where they were like, we want to get ahead of get ahead of things and get ready. That really, we just don't have enough things to go see.
No,
we don't have enough choice to actually get in and start, being competitive. So, if you're looking at selling, give us a call, because it's really a good time to be doing it. Another interesting thing that I think we're going to see more of this year, just based on the phone calls I've been having, is landlords now looking to sell their properties.
Because they want to be landlords.
The rental market is way down right now too.
Are these single family home landlords or multifamily home landlords?
It's kind of all of it.
All
and actually it is all of it. I'm talking to single family homeowners, townhouse landlords, and condo landlords who are looking at the projections for where they're going to be able to rent for 2021. That's down from before. And I don't want to cause a situation or talk out a situation where we're now losing rental properties, because I think it's really important. We're now, Seattle now has more renters than they do homeowners for the first time
ever. Yeah. Oh, it looks like we're losing.
But what that's doing is I don't know what's going on. But anyway, it's a really interesting fact of our market is that a lot of landlords are, who bought 3 and 4 years ago, are now looking to liquidate those properties and, either buy something else or, find a different market for investment.
Right. Which is interesting, because I've had a couple of clients who've decided to buy up and not sell their property. And not necessarily condos, right? I mean, I've had clients who are, holding their condos longer because they feel like they need to, but also have clients that are holding their houses because they're like, hey, maybe this would make a good investment for me. I have tons of equity. I don't owe that much. And I can see that it's still a strong enough rental market that it's worth it to keep those properties,
That's a good point, is that if you already have the equity in your home and you're making your bills by renting it, continue renting it.
Right. Yes. We need affordable property in this city. We need as many rentals as we can get. But interestingly, if you're in that like $600 to $750 price point for a property and you have good equity, man, you're not going to have a lot of problems selling it, I think. Not unless there's something really weird about your property. I think you could put that on the market and it would be snapped up, because that's like the core of the market that a lot of the new buyers are in. It's interesting because the new buyers that are coming in, we're seeing a lot of them are in this like 600 to 800 or like $1 million plus.
Oh, interesting.
I
mean, and I guess that makes perfect sense when you're looking at the average home prices around 900.
Right.
It's not lost on me that most people don't have $900,000, but there are people that are finally buying their first house at that price point. So, so having people, doing their second time buy, it's probably going to be over $1 million.
Right.
Just because it's,
we're even getting first-time buyers at that price point, Roy. I mean, that's how crazy. I mean, we're literally in a space where our market is almost like at, not quite San Francisco, New York, but kind of, not that far off. I mean, the fact that that if you want a 3-bedroom house in the city, unless you want a fixer upper, you're probably looking 900 to $1.3 million.
Yeah.
Right.
And there are still parts of my neighborhood, down here on the White Center line where, like, right outside of my house, you can find brand new construction townhouses for, $650. But what's interesting about that is a lot of the buyers that I have in that price point really value a yard over new construction.
Yes, me too.
Which is really interesting because, like, we all got pets,
It was so funny. I was doing like a little review of all my clients last year. And I was like, it was so cool because I was like, what do all my clients have in common? They love travel. They love pets. They all have pets. They want to have a pet. And they're all like super political too.
Yeah. But and that's so bringing up travel is another thing that's really interesting about this year. When Katie and I are talking, like, because I'm not selling my house, that's not going to happen. But as a realtor, you're always thinking about, oh, what if, and like getting in the mindset of your buyers and stuff. But it's like, even our house, like, we didn't spend any money last year. We didn't go anywhere. We didn't go out to dinner. So, like, now we have a bit of savings that could be a very good down payment, or could be ripe for like a vacation home.
Right. Vacation homes.
Right. Which is another part of our market that's really interesting. I mean, you and I don't deal in that a lot.
No.
As far as like realtors go, but just like
we're getting a lot of calls. I'm getting a lot of calls from clients who are like, I want to buy a vacation home,
and seeing a lot of A-frames in Central Washington selling for over $300,000.
Right.
So it's just like, what is going on?
I know. And being the owner of a vacation home, I can tell you that it has been a lifesaver in 2020. And I'm sure in 2021, it will also be a lifesaver to have a place to go that's not, shady.
You don't have to get on a plane.
I don't have to get on a plane to go to Lake Diva. I can just drive down there and hang out, and it feels like a whole different place, right?
Right.
So if folks out there are still listening have real estate questions and you want to pop them in the comments or the chats, or please,
we're happy to bring it up. Bring up your questions.
Roll back and talk about them. But I think we need to move on to like talk a little bit about the craziness that's happening.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the thing that we were planning on talking about first, which is the election in Georgia.
Yes, let's totally. Okay, so I sadly had this whole thing planned that I decided not to do, was to pull a Steve Karnacki and get my little whiteboard out, but I decided not to do that. So right now, last I checked before the show started, they still had not, some news outlets have still not called the Ossoff Purdue race, but the spread was definitely getting wider. So it was at about 19,000 vote difference between Ossoff and Purdue as of 1:00. Right. And that was definitely, Chavi just said the AP just called it.
Oh, wow. Hey. Yay!
AP just called that Jon Ossoff has won. Yay!
That's awesome. So that'll be great if they have somewhere to go where the Senate's being held, because right now it's on pause because everybody had to evacuate the building.
Oh my God.
There's another big story that's going on right now,
which is that crazy MAGA Trump supporters and Proud Boys have taken over the Capitol building.
Yeah, which is
absolutely nuts
and criminal.
Nuts and criminal, and and indicative of like the nature of what this presidency has been all about. This last presidency has just been about chaos. This last year has been about chaos, and as we say, chaos is a ladder. Obviously, the Proud Boys have taken advantage of that ladder and decided to climb up the top of the effing Capitol building and take over.
I think it's really interesting, in a way. I was talking to Katie about this before we came on, but it's really interesting that people in our sphere and other liberals have been working their asses off to create change through like the right streams, through, you know, the democratic process.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and like there's no one that I know, or you know, that I'm losing my words now, but just thinking about like everyone's been working for change through peaceful protest, through you know, actually going out and getting voters to vote, you know, and they're not.
No,
they've decided to get mad and hold their guns.
And the hypocritical part of it, which, you know, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a liberal. I mean, I believe everyone has a right to freedom of speech, whether I agree with them or not. But the hypocritical part is that they are pushing law and order and crackdown on BLM folks and calling Antifa violent radicals and getting pissed at the looting that supposedly the left has been doing. And here they are storming the Capitol with guns, invading people's, you know, invading the Capitol, scaring the crap out of people, forcing Congress people to be evacuated. Apparently they have taken over Nancy Pelosi's office, trashed it, you know, maybe even stolen her laptop. I mean, it is ridiculous. And then they're also clashing with police and saying, oh, we support the police as long as the police let us do whatever we want and crack down on the BLM people. But as soon as the police start cracking down on their radical, violent protests, they're basically saying, screw you. They're burning Blue Lives Matter flags in the middle of the street. I mean, it is so hypocritical that they're like,
I mean, it's the definition of being hypocritical. They're doing all of the things that they claimed were happening, you know, from the left. They're actually doing it.
They're doing it, right. And they're doing it with like AK-47s in their hand.
Right.
You know, which, let's be honest, I've been to a bunch of protests. I've never seen anyone with an effing gun or you know, open carrying at a protest in Seattle.
I mean, and that's a peaceful protest. Like that's using your First Amendment right to go out and you know, be seen and have your voice heard without being a terrorist.
Right.
Without being a criminal.
Right. So at this point, how do you call Antifa a terrorist when you're the people taking over the Capitol building with guns? Right. How are these people not terrorists, in my opinion, in anyone's opinion, you know? So I mean, this is the craziness that, I mean, I don't know if any of us expected this to happen today. I think we expected something. We knew that the protests would be a little bit out of hand and they were warning people in DC to like stay home and not engage. But the fact that they've let it go this far is pretty ridiculous, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And it's yeah, I mean, in the short term, like, what do you do? Like, how do you stop them, you know? But in the long term, I think this is an even bigger, you know, like push to like Congress needs to get back to work.
Yeah.
You know, like playing the division game isn't working. You know, dividing the US against itself doesn't work. It leads to this.
Right.
You know? And I'm not saying that like, you know, I'm not saying like all Republicans, you know, should unite with Democrats to make things work, but like get back to work, do the job.
Right. Do some work, right? Yeah, yeah.
Now that you know there's some democratic control, hopefully we'll actually see things happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also funny that Trump markets himself as the law and order president, and you know was willing to send in troops to like shut down what was happening in Portland. But you know, as soon as his people are invading the Capitol building,
in his backyard,
what's he doing?
Right.
You know, what's he gonna? What's his move to deal with this issue? I mean, so far we haven't seen that.
And that's going to be what we're all going to be watching for the rest of today, tomorrow.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, and you could postpone the certification of the election as long as you want. It's going to happen, people.
Right.
Oh, Chavi. Oh, Chavi is delivering great information. What did you just deliver, Chavi? They found a pipe bomb in the RNC headquarters.
Oh my goodness.
Interesting. So this is the other interesting thing that this faction of Trump people has forced the Republican Party to really cleave in the middle between like the radical conservative Trump, you know, Trump or die people and the wait a second, you know, like At some point, we have to support democracy, regardless of whether we agree with Biden or we support him at his policies. We have to support democracy first because that's more important. Right. And I'm curious what that, when these radicals are basically like, oh, now we're going to threaten the Republican Party because we don't even see them as being our party anymore. What does that mean for the right? I mean, what's going to happen in the future of this party?
And that's a great question. And I wish I knew. I wish I knew, but unfortunately I'm going to have to sit here and watch like everybody else.
Like everyone else. I mean, the positive thing is that we won both Georgia Senate races. And now Chuck Schumer, as I tweeted this morning, bye-bye Mitch McConnell. So let that Senate
minority leader Mitch McConnell.
Senate minority leader, right? Right. Mr. Do Nothing for God knows how many years. Now that Chuck Schumer has taken over as majority leader, and we don't have a super majority, so that's still going to be tough to get stuff done. But
if this division causes Republicans to step back and say, well, we need to get the work done now, then we might be able to get super majority.
That's true. You never know. And people maybe people like Mitt Romney and Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski will start, actually siding with the Democrats and getting
fighting
shit
for healthcare,
right,
fighting for a living wage,
right.
That are important.
Doing all kinds of things that we've been putting off doing, like dealing with climate change, dealing with voting rights, dealing with immigrant rights. Getting rid of that stupid effing Trump tax break,
right?
Which is not helping any of us whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. No, I think it's kind of interesting. I'm interested to see what kind of comes of all of this over the coming days. And, this is the inevitable conclusion, right? Like we knew that Trump and his supporters were not going to leave
quietly. No.
And I guess it's kind of interesting too, because they are still our neighbors. They are still our, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. We
don't have any of the answers. We're just here to talk about it and bring the information out, and love to get people's thoughts or opinions or comments about it. I think the big thing for me is I just feel like the culmination of the end of this presidency is going to go up in some big flare, and we've already seen the start. And my hope is that folks who might still at some point be on the fence about, whether the transition to Biden was good or not, will see this and realize that, this is ridiculousness, and this is not support. And maybe some people's eyes will open up a little bit and realize what dangerous and destructive modes of operandi that Trump has been doing for all these years, and the damage it's done to our democracy. And, and now we see it physically manifested, right? That physical manifestation of like hate and anger and like gnawing for power and like me first over everybody else is physically in the White House. I mean, in the Capitol, taking over. And hopefully people seeing this it'll open some people's eyes to realize that we need this transition more than ever. And it's time for us to all come together and get some crap done,
Yeah.
I mean, because all the Trump administration has done for the past few years is elect conservative judges and cause extreme amounts of chaos, and nothing has happened in this country in 4 years. And the pandemic is a perfect example of the fact that there are hundreds of thousands of people that have died. Our country is in chaos. Like everything has been shut down for months. I mean, could you have dreamed in March when this started that we'd still be here in January 2021?
No, not in the way that we were. I mean, my thought was that we would have a lot more testing and we would have a lot more people understanding that, you have to be careful and you have to, take precautions
Right.
instead of, of all the photos I've been seeing, I've not seen one person wearing a mask in DC.
No.
And like,
No.
And now we're dealing with a pandemic that's spreading faster and more effectively. And I didn't expect to be back in the office, by January 1, and not working.
Well, I didn't expect to be here.
But yeah, I didn't expect to be in the situation that we're in.
With 300,000 people dead and no real plan. And we have a vaccine and they can't even figure out how to get the vaccine out to people.
They can't even get it in people's arms. They're throwing it away.
I mean, the ridiculousness of the situation is what's so like, it's infuriating. And I know we only have a few more days before it's done, but it's the fact that those last few days are going to be as torturous as possible, I have a feeling is painful. Do folks have any questions or comments? Stephen put in a comment about being really scared about seeing the scary images of lunatics sitting in our elected officials' office. Yeah, that is really scary.
It is.
And it's a miracle that nobody has gotten hurt, as far as we know.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, wait. Oh, someone was shot. Oh, a woman was shot. Someone was shot, apparently. Do we know who? No. Someone has gotten hurt. People are getting hurt. They're still in there. Oh, yeah, I know they're still in there. Yeah, they're still in there. And who knows when they're going to not be in there. I mean, how long is it going to take? Here's where you need to send in the National Guard. I mean, seriously. Bringing the National Guard to Portland. Yeah, so bringing the National Guard to Portland to deal with, like, protesters, it is something that they have no problem doing, but there are people in the Capitol building and it's going to take them 3 hours for the National Guard to show up. Who knows what damage they're going to do to not just the building, but there's people's personal sensitive political documents in that building that they have access to, that we can only hope that our representatives and our Congress people are smart enough to know how to protect in case something crazy like this does happen. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Right. Like you were saying before, like no one was prepared for this. Like there's, no one could have been prepared enough for this situation to happen today.
No, and I feel like it is really a fault of the DC police that they did not plan better to keep these people further away from the Capitol as possible, and to have enough people to protect that building. You need to plan for anything with people that are walking around with guns, who are angry and like have proven to be violent in the past. I mean, it's not the first time they've been to DC causing problems. This is not new.
Right.
So yeah, it's craziness. But you know what? We don't really have much left to report. That's what's happening right now.
I mean, that's the thing. It's happening as we're sitting here. So
as we're sitting here, but like I said, on a positive note, we have a new president. We have control of the Congress, both the House and the Senate now. Yep. It's been since 2011 since we've had control of, all three branches. Well, two, I should say. We don't really have control of the Supreme Court, sadly. Well, not yet. That was Roy.
Do it.
But so I mean, this hopefully once we get these lunatics out of the Capitol building and we get Biden inaugurated, it'll be a new day in America, and it's the last day of Mars and Aries. So, where does it go next, Chavi? Taurus. Oh, Taurus. That's my rising sign. It's all about it's all about earthiness and groundedness and pretty things.
Good. I think we need some groundedness right now, and we need to get back to our roots.
We do. Hopefully, when Mars moves into Taurus, we'll get some more like stability and groundedness in this country. But it might take a few days for that to happen. So, well, thanks y'all for joining this.
Thank you. It's been an interesting first day back, working through some glitches and political unrest,
glitches, positive things that are going on. Oh, we wanted to end with congratulating some of our folks who have closed on their new homes or sales in December.
Yeah, we had quite a few, which is great. Going back to talking about how 2020 didn't really slow down for real estate.
Nope.
Yeah, I had Renita and the Kerbaugh family closed on a purchase.
Yay. Congratulations.
The Mayfields, my advisor from college, or one of my professors from college, and his two sons bought a condo kind of near me, which was really great. Remington had 3 closings, Kedar Joshi and Vinita Kumar, John Garnello and Alex Burkholder, and then Chris Martinez and April Ovalis? Yeah.
Ovalis, yeah.
Diva Dweller family. And Kim, you have too.
Oh, yeah, Amy and Andrew closed on their new home in West Seattle. Congratulations, Amy and Andrew. And Donna, who is the mom of some of our fabulous clients, Rebecca and her husband, Rebecca's mom, Donna, and Rebecca and Andy are some of our favorite clients.
Hey, Rebecca and Andy.
In West Seattle, there were 2 West Seattle closings. Awesome. And then we sold this beautiful home. I was able to sell Holly and Dave's beautiful home on Arch Place, also in West Seattle. Closed in December. It was a West Seattle kind of month for me.
Yeah, West Seattle's not dead like everybody thinks it is.
No, we sold this like $1.4 million house. We closed on 2 properties. I mean, West Seattle is still like a great place. I mean, obviously the fact that all this closings are happening in West Seattle prove that the bridge be damned. People still want to live in West Seattle.
They do. It's a wonderful place to live.
Yeah, and I think Rocky had a closing too. Gary and Allie, didn't they close?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Gary and Allie. Yeah, they were supposed to close like right on Christmas Day or something.
I think so, and I think their new place is out in, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it out in North Bend? Am I wrong about that?
North Bend, Cle Elum, somewhere out that way, I think.
Maybe not as far as Cle Elum, but definitely up east somewhere. So congratulations, Gary and Allie. Congratulations to all our Diva Dwellers that closed last year. It was a great year for us, and we love you all and thank you all for all your support.
We can't do this without you. And that's if we didn't have awesome clients, we wouldn't be working. So
that's right.
Thank you, everybody.
And thanks everyone for joining. We will definitely be doing a show next week. Hopefully we'll be having a guest. We don't know who the guest is just yet. We're confirming in the process of trying to confirm one of the 2 folks that we have been chatting with, but look for the info coming out on Monday about the new guest. Oh, Dave, you've missed us.
Oh, missed you, Dave. Mondays seem to be our day to get the information out. So check Kim's Facebook page, mine, and always the Team Diva Facebook
page.
Yeah, that's where we'll have all of our information for next week.
Yay! All right, thanks y'all for joining. Thanks all the super fans for logging on. And like I said, if you're watching this post live, don't hesitate to throw in some comments or questions or whatever in the chat, and we'll get back to you on it. And have a great week. And let's
stay healthy, stay safe.
Stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll be talking more politics and talking more real estate in the next few weeks.
Sounds good. Bye, everyone.
Ciao for now, y'all.